Hello everyone. My name is Srinivasan. I am a PhD candidate in neuroscience. I have had diagnoses of autism and ADHD since toddlerhood. My disability significantly impacts me in communication, sensory-motor regulation, and health domains, and it also shapes how I approach research and systems design. The first wave of neurodiversity reshaped public discourse. It affirmed that autistic people are part of human diversity, not defined solely by deficit. It centered dignity and identity. And that was necessary. However, recognition alone does not redesign systems. In many contexts, autistic people with higher support needs, particularly those most impacted by spoken communication, sensory-motor regulation, and complex health conditions, remained structurally excluded from education, employment, and civic participation. Recognition in discourse did not automatically produce inclusion in infrastructure. My Neurodiversity 2.0 framework builds on this foundation. It shifts the focus from identity recognition to institutional redesign. This framework is my attempt to move beyond old debates and focus on what actually helps. This year's theme reminds us that every autistic life has value. But value cannot remain symbolic. It must be reflected in how our systems function. Despite progress in language and representation, structural gaps remain. Segregation and exclusion continue in many parts of the world. Many systems are built on quiet assumptions. That communication style reflects intelligence. That cognitive difference signals deficit. These assumptions influence policy and practice. Millions of autistic individuals are non-speaking or minimally speaking. Too often, cognitive ability is underestimated when communication style does not match institutional expectations. Much of the autism conversation has been shaped by either/or thinking. Independence versus incapacity. Medical versus social. These simplified oppositions obscure the complexity of human experience and slow structural progress. Across many systems, autonomy is treated as the highest ideal. Independence becomes the benchmark of value. When autistics require visible support, whether in communication, regulation, or daily living, that support is sometimes mistaken for incapacity. In this framework, worth becomes conditional. Neurodiversity 2.0 challenges the idea that support and autonomy are opposites. An autistic can require assistance and still exercise agency, decision-making, and contribution. Interdependence is not a weakness. It is a universal human reality. Neurodiversity 2.0 moves beyond false dichotomies. Autism is biological. It involves neurological and physiological realities. Autistics have real health challenges that deserve solutions. It is psychological, shaping perception, regulation, and lived experience. And it is social, shaped by environments, expectations, and institutional design. A Neurodiversity 2.0 thinking operates within a bio-psycho-social framework. It aligns scientific research with lived experience and grounds policy in the full complexity of human development. This is not a rejection of medicine or supports. It is an expansion toward coherence. Neurodiversity is not a peripheral issue. It is a development question. Who are our systems designed for? Which cognitive styles are treated as default? Design assumptions quietly determine who thrives and who struggles. Alternative communication is not a temporary workaround. It is a legitimate mode of expression. In my recent paper examining artificial intelligence and alternative communication systems, I explore how AI can expand communicative agency for non-speaking individuals, if designed responsibly. Technology does not determine dignity. Design choices do. Technology does not operate in a vacuum. Who controls communication tools? Who defines what counts as effective expression? Governance and policy frameworks shape whether technology expands autonomy or constrains it. Across many contexts, research tends to sample autistics who are easiest to recruit, assess, and retain in structured studies. When methods depend on speech fluency, rapid response, or sustained regulation, individuals with complex support needs become systematically harder to include. Neurodiversity 2.0 calls for expanding methodological design in research, so that the full spectrum can shape the evidence base that informs policy. Development policy does not emerge in isolation. It reflects the data and evidence we generate. If certain autistic populations are underrepresented in research, their needs become harder to see in the systems built from that evidence. When lives are missing from data, they are often missing from design. Education systems often standardize pace, communication style, and evaluation methods. These standards privilege certain cognitive profiles and make others appear less capable. When flexibility depends on a diagnosis or special exception, inclusion remains conditional rather than built into the system itself. Economic systems frequently equate productivity with independence. Autonomy becomes the benchmark of worth. Workplace norms, from interview formats to performance evaluations, often privilege specific communication styles, processing speeds, and regulation profiles. These norms are not neutral. They reflect moral assumptions about whose labor counts and whose support needs are seen as costly rather than valuable. Autistics often experience real biological and regulatory challenges, including sensory, motor, mental, and physical health complexities. Health systems must address these realities without reducing individuals to a single dimension of identity. Care and dignity are not opposites. A well-designed system can hold both. Strong institutions depend on inclusive governance. Yet, neurominorities are still rarely present in the rooms where policies are drafted, budgets are allocated, and systems are designed. When policies shape lives without the meaningful participation of those most impacted, procedural justice becomes incomplete. Representation must move beyond symbolism and into structural design. The first wave of neurodiversity changed language. The next evolution must change architecture. Dignity must shape institutions from the beginning, not as an afterthought. Young leaders are not only advocates.
Hi, and welcome everybody to our Channel 5, which is about the future is neurodiverse. And we have a group of amazing next generation speakers that will share their lived experience and speak to specific questions. For decades, conversations and neurodiversity have too often been led by systems, professionals, and institutions speaking about us rather than with us. This panel shifts that perspective. Today, we hear directly from the next generation individuals whose lived experience is shaping how we understand education, work, leadership, and belonging. Our speakers bring not only personal insight, but also ideas about how society can move forward beyond awareness and toward genuine appreciation and inclusion. In the final part of this conversation, each of our panelists will share one concrete solution they believe could help build a more neurodiverse and inclusive world. we are all very mindful that the future is not something that simply arrives. It's something we design together. So let's begin by you all introducing yourself briefly, including what country you're from. So Vincent, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Vincent Obisie-Orlu. I am, well, from is a bit difficult or tricky for me. I was born in Nigeria, grew up in the US, then moved to South Africa. So I often joke that I'm a bit of a third culture kid. The best way to describe myself is Chigenagonye, but spicy. I'm probably autistic, ADHD type C, and yeah, that's pretty much me. I think I'm funny. That's a fun fact about me.
Thank you very much. Let's stick to the funny. We like funny. Thank you. And Ayanwole? You're on mute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ayanwole Boluwatife Joshua. I'm a neurodiversity advocate and specialist. I'm from Nigeria, and I look forward to have a wonderful session over here.
Thank you so much. Sorry, did you want to say some more?
Okay, briefly, I advocate for neurodiversity and individual on the autism spectrum, neuro minorities in Nigeria and Africa, to be precise, just to have an inclusive environment. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, it's
And
fine.
next, Martin, can we hear from you?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Martin Cortes. I'm an 18-year-old autistic activist from Chile and the founder of Chilean social media campaign Autismo 365. This was created with a simple but important idea. Autism awareness cannot exist only on one day of the year. Understanding, respect, and inclusion must happen 365 days a year. Through Autismo 365, we work to promote a culture where autistic people are not only supported, but heard, valued, and included in every part of society. Our message is simple. Inclusion begins with each of us. It is an honor to be here representing Chile and sharing this message with a global community that believes every life has value. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And finally, Hector, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name's
I think he might have frozen. Can you hear us, Hector? Is he frozen for the rest of you as well?
No.
doing Japanese lessons for a future trip to Japan, and that's it.
I'm afraid we missed a bit of that, Hector, because you froze in the middle of it. Would you mind just doing it again?
Oh, sorry. My name is Hector Ishikawa. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Brazil. I work as a veterinary in the Aquário do Pantanal. Nowadays, I'm studying Japanese for a future travel to Japan, and that's it. I got
Thank you
nothing
so
else.
much. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much. Now we will now start with the first subject, which is about dignity and belonging. And I would love to hear what dignity and belonging mean for you today across education, work, and society. So the question is, what does dignity and belonging mean to you today? And if we can start with Martin, please.
Sure. Dignity means that I don't have to mask to survive. Belonging means that I'm not treated as a guest in systems that should already include me. In education, dignity means autistic students are not punished for communicating differently. In work, it means that we're hired for our competence, not showcase for diversity optics. In society, it means our humanity is not divided. Belonging is not sitting at the table quietly. Belonging is helping build the table.
Yeah.
And right now, too many autistic young people are still being asked to shrink themselves to fit into spaces that refuse to expand. That's not inclusion. That's assimilation.
That's very powerful. Thank you so much for that, Martin. To the point, straight into it. I love it. Thank you. Ayanwole, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that question. The first thing is, let's establish what dignity means. It means to be valued. Being valued, being respected for who you are. So this question is to all of us, the educational system, the society, and also across every parastatal. Now, individual on the autism spectrum, people with autism, we should let them feel valued. They should know quite well that they are part of the system. The second aspect of the word belonging. Belonging means you are part of something. Belonging simply means, oh, I am him. It is mine. So in the society, in the educational space, every form of indices we have in the society, we should make sure quite well that individual on the autism spectrum, they feel valued. They feel included. We should not exclude them in policies. We should not exclude them in the educational system. We should make sure quite well that they have a balanced educational system that supports their growth, that brings in creativity, that brings in innovation. And I'm going to see it from these 4 angles. Number 1, we have to create a sensory-friendly environment in the educational system. And not only in the educational system, even at the workplace. The environment is not friendly. Some of them are hypersensitivity, while some are hyposensitivity. They are hypersensitivity to sound. How are we regulating that in our environment, in the school system, in the educational system? At the aspect of light, some of them are hypersensitivity to light. So much of light, it causes issues. They find it difficult to cope. So are we adjusting the educational system so that individual on the autism spectrum can feel valued? Or we just feel quite sure that it doesn't matter. They just have to fit in. They just have to come into the system. No. When we are talking of dignity and belonging, it means quite sure that we have to check this. The second one I would like to mention is acceptance. In the society, are we accepting them? Or we are just stereotyping, segregating? Oh, no. I don't like the way you behave. I don't like the way you act. Don't you see the way the neighbor or the child of our neighbor behaves? No, we are not meant to do that. If you are really talking about dignity and belonging, and it's part of their fundamental human rights, remember, they have to feel valued, they have to feel belonging. We should make sure quite well that they are included in everything, in communication. We should accept them. We should not segregate. We should not stereotype, but rather, we should make sure quite well that acceptance is the rule of the game. And the last thing I'm going to mention, still on dignity and being belonged, is opportunity to lead. Let's give them the space to thrive in the educational system. If they have the ability to lead, let them lead. We should not feel quite sure that, oh, no, is this autistic individual, this child on the autism spectrum, this individual on the autism, is it going to be our team leader? No, it should not be. In as much they have the capacity, in as much they have what it takes to lead, let them lead. Their conditions should not make us to limit their capacity and their capability. And this is what is playing out in the modern educational system. This is what is playing out in our society. This is what is playing out in the world generally. This is a message to us in summary. Being belongs to the system is their fundamental human right. Dignity is their fundamental human right. Let's address them as if they are part of us. Thank you.
Well done. Very powerful. Absolutely. Totally agree with all that. It's interesting. We got contacted by Cambridge University George Business School a couple of years ago. They specifically wanted neurodivergent leaders to come into their MBA courses. They had 2 cohorts because they said, we need that different thinking to the table. So we do have organizations who understand what we bring. And they said, and the non-autistic leaders need to understand how it means to think differently and the advantages that brings. So we are changing the narrative, but thank you so much. And next, Hector. Can you hear us, Hector?
Yeah.
Okay, there you are, Hector.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, the internet here is, not working the way it's supposed to. About belonging or something like that. I said I had some good experience, had bad experience, but let's start with I don't know what would be more um uh the best way to say it. The best part, I had a bad experience during the college. Got a little traumatized, I gotta say that, unfortunately. But that didn't stop me from saying, like, man, I just need to do something that I like, and I wasn't feel like, how can I say it? Some strange guy in the middle of a place that you think, that's not the type of place I'd like to be. So I jumped out. Have no regrets. If I had a time machine and I could go back in time, I would do it all over again. And most of people say, well, why you jumped out of the college? Because it was stressing, I was depressed, I was in a dark moment in my life. But just because of that, that doesn't mean I didn't want to go and study something new, something for me. And I started to have Japanese lessons. Started last year. So starting, I'm loving it. I plan to visit Japan in a future opportunity with my family. I'm doing drum classes. I'm a guy that loves music. I play guitar, as you can see in the back of the room. But nowadays, I'm doing working at the aquarium, helping. I got another job that is helping people with autistic, autism and another special necessities. That, well, most of them are kids, children that I help in this job. Um, it's a therapy that we use horses. I don't know how to say it in English, but well, is what makes me, well, another thing of belonging. It's a place that everybody's nice to me, everybody treats me equal, everybody, it's a job that I truly love, and I don't want to be exaggerated, but I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't in the job. I was probably had nothing to do if I had this job. So it's something that it's important to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Hector. I'm so sorry you had to go through that in college. Unfortunately, I think we all experience a lot of unpleasant things in education. I certainly did as well, but thank you so much for sharing it. It's important that we can also share these these kind of things. So thank you so much. We got to do what we love. I can't do what I'm not interested in. Literally, if I try to do a job I don't love, I will definitely get fired, because I just need to do something that I really, really care for and that I really like. So whenever I feel that I'm not loving this job, I literally have to leave before I get fired. That's so finding this, and at the same time, people can learn from us when we're out there. So really well done, Hector. And finally, Vincent.
Great. So I think, just to build on what everyone else has said, dignity is about appreciation of the individual, right? It's about seeing the person for or as a person, whether you're autistic and verbal, you are autistic and nonverbal, or your autism manifests in ways that some people view as, well, a bit of an irritant at times. It's acknowledging that regardless of anything, as a standpoint, you're human, right? And by being human, as Ayanwole said, you have certain alienable rights and things that come from that. Now, within work and other spaces, there are certain challenges that emerge, right? Navigating interpersonal dynamics, navigating schedules, navigating ways of doing things, and there's an element of what that requires you to conform, but in that conforming to those elements and those structures, there's also a need for an acknowledgement that, well, you're differently abled, right? To what you were saying, Charlotte, about the university, this is a manifestation of acknowledgement of the dignity and belonging of autistic individuals within the world and workplace and to be leaders, right? Being able to see that as an autistic individual, I bring a different perspective to things. I bring a way of crunching the data that you might not have looked at. I bring because I'm going to be following the dopamine as I am ADHD. I will see things and I will go into certain issues in a different way that everyone else will go. And I think that is something that needs to be really considered a bit more. Within educational spaces, there is a need for listening a bit more to students, right? Oftentimes, we will look at a student and see someone is having difficulties, and then the first thing we'll say is, "You are dumb. You are stupid." When in fact, in the reality of the situation, reality of the matter is, they might be dyslexic. They might be autistic. They might be overly stimulated. They might find the issues that they're doing in class as really simple. And because too much attention makes them nervous and uncomfortable, they will slack off and they will do nothing. So they do not get any of the attention. As such, there's this need and requirement to listen, hear the person, hear me out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're disruptive not because you want to just be unnecessary disruptive and problematic. Sometimes you're disruptive because there is no stimulation happening. And you need to find and create it for yourself. And as such, there's that element of honoring an individual's dignity with listening to them, right? And within society, look, it is very tricky being autistic and not being blamed for things that you didn't do in certain places.
Yeah.
You will be blamed for all sorts of things because, you're different. It's even more tricky for someone who's nonverbal because how do you communicate? How do you express that this happened to me? These are my challenges. When you can't use words, but you might be able to use sign language, and many people don't know. So I think dignity and belonging is listening, hearing, understanding, trying to see what the person's abilities are and how they're differently abled and incorporating them, First step is bringing us in, right? Before we even go into celebrating us, bring us in. Let us know we're part of this community.
Yeah.
Let us know we're part of the people. And then from there, all other things can be added onto it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, all of you, for your thoughtful responses. It's a great expression, not difficult to understand how you define dignity and belonging and experiences you've had to the opposite. So let's move to the next subject, which is about where systems exclude us. We'll move into sort of talking about the areas where institutions and systems continue to create barriers, especially for young autistic people globally. So the question is, where do systems still feel most excluding for young autistic people around the world? If we start with Hector, where do you feel most excluded?
Well, like I said, I had the start of I had a bad start at the high school. The first year, start of the 2 first years were like hard. I didn't have time to study. I didn't have friends. I have anxiety, so you guess how my life is. Um, I felt excluded during some events. I wasn't called for any party, so well, I was especially during the first and second year of the high school, and when I switched schools, I got transferred for obvious reasons. Uh, uh, I felt like the second school was, well, way better than the previous one. The director said to my mom, like, well, we don't have any autistic student, but we would like to try. And I gotta say, I felt like way more comfortable in the other school than the first one. That I was every time the odd one out, I was excluded. I didn't have any friends. And the second one, well, I still got some friends. One of them is a close one to me. I still got contact. I talk to him every weekend. And, well, I gotta say, the part that I was excluded in my personal experience was a high school. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I have 3 children. My oldest son is autistic, openly autistic. He spoke at a UN event a couple of years ago. He found school incredibly difficult and started one sort of degree after having we had to find different routes for him to get to university. After a year, he said, I just can't focus on this. It was about communication. He said, the only thing I can think of is music. I need to do music. And he had started mixing electronic music and he played different instruments. But then I said, well, then we move you to doing an electronic music producer education instead. He finished last year. He's traveling around the world as a DJ. He had an enormous amount of anxiety about a lot of it. But within the music space, he really found his tribe. This was where he and them could really connect on things that they all were so interested in. This weekend, he's at a big festival called Rampage in Europe, and he's just loving it. He's got a huge amount of people that are always including him because he also had that issue that if you don't behave in a certain way, they will exclude you from everything. So finding your tribe in things that you love, finding other people who love it too, just seems to really work for him. So if you love music and Japanese, he also thought of learning Japanese because he loves the mangas. So he's reading Naruto and all these, and there's many things we can do. So really well done that you are sort of pushing in and looking at the things that you love, and then eventually we can put maybe some of the bad experience behind us. But well done, Hector. Next one for Martin, please.
Well, the truth is that many systems around the world still operate as if there is one correct way to be human, one correct way to learn, one correct way to communicate, one correct way to succeed. When systems are built around only one type of mind, exclusion becomes inevitable.
Yeah.
In education, many autistic students struggle not because they cannot learn,
No.
but because schools are not designed for different learning styles.
Yes.
In employment, hiring processes are often rewards social performance more than real ability.
Yeah.
Job interviews evaluate eye contact and small talk, but rarely measure talent. Healthcare systems are also often speak about autistic people without speaking with autistic people.
Yeah.
Policies are written about our lives, but autistic voices are still missing from the decision making table. When the systems refuse to adapt, autistic people are expected to do all the adapting. The result is something we see far too often among young autistic people: exhaustion, burnout. Not only because autism is itself, but because we're constantly navigating in environments that were never designed for us.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Absolutely. I keep talking about the modeled human. They've made not like a modeled human of the average of all humans. And if you're not close to that modeled human, then you're out, right? And most of us are just not close to that, and we're not meant to be. We're meant to have people who rejects this is how we always do it, or who keeps asking questions, or who thinks of different ways. That's how species survive as well, right? So thank you so much for your input. Vincent, you next.
Vision. I mean, look, if we're looking at it as it stands now, there's so many areas in which autistic individuals are excluded. I made reference to them in my earlier comments, right? Education, workplace, engagement with the bureaucracy of different things. You know, there are different areas that exclusion manifests itself. Beyond those elements of exclusion, there's an underlying element of stigmatization. And I think when it comes to exclusion that results from stigmatization or that results from self-exclusion, I think that's the other element that we don't really speak about or think of, right? When you are, as an autistic individual, told or made to feel like you do not belong, you will not try to step into a space, right? You will not try to push for an invitation to a party. You will not try to interact with these people. You will sit on your own, sit in your corner, and just be there. Why? Well, society's cut me off. Society's removed me. So why should I try and engage with society? And I think when we have exclusion in this manner, right? We've been excluded and now we've relegated ourselves to self-exclude now. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for society.
No.
And I think what is required now is to understand the multiplicity of exclusion. And until such a time that we understand that exclusion is not simply you're autistic, you're neurodiverse. Exclusion is also, I'm scared of what people think, so I will not step out into a space. I'm scared of how I will be treated, so I will not engage with people. I'm scared of how my tics might be perceived. So I will stay and avoid interacting. I will not play sports. I'm scared of how and what people think of me because I'm nonverbal. So I will not engage in any form of communicating. When we have exclusion in these manners, right, where we've been excluded for all sorts of reasons, and we self-exclude ourselves, and we self-exclude, we are causing injury to ourselves in terms of how we are as people, right? Autism is something that manifests across all areas of your life. It is not limited to your education. It is not limited to work. It is everywhere. And exclusion manifests furthermore in how we take care of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
When you are autistic, there are certain things that are normal that can be a bit tricky. Something as simple as enjoying certain foods because you have a texture sensitivity, right? But if mom and dad are very adamant that you must eat this, you're eventually going to say, actually, I'm not going to eat these things at all. I'm not going to eat what mom and dad is. And that, this creates challenges, so
Yes.
exclusion is multiplicative. And I think similar to what Hector has said about his experiences in high school, similar to what Martin has said about exclusion across the board, and similar to what everyone said previously, I think it's important, what I'd like to put in is that it's important for us to understand as autistic individuals that we ourselves exclude ourselves from society, and we exclude ourselves from each other.
Yeah.
And what we forget is that the best way to navigate some of the challenges that exist within our world and our society is through the interactions with one another, right? If you have, I really love what Hector does with the younger people with the equine therapy. If we have a situation where, we have a situation whereby one autistic individual is engaging with a younger autistic individual who has their struggles, you are bringing them, you're including them, right? Inclusivity is not simply about acceptance within neurotypical society. Inclusivity is also about acceptance within autistic society in the multiplicities that it exists. Are verbal, are nonverbal, are high functional, are low functional, right? All of these, if we can start including each other, are neurotypical presenting, such as myself, right? If we can start including each other in terms of how we relate to one another and how we help and support each other, then we're doing something to address the exclusion problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that thoughtful response, Vincent. And finally, for Ayanwole.
Okay, thank you for that question. First thing I would like to say, the bedrock of all exclusion, or the bedrock of exclusion in the world globally regarding young individuals on the autism spectrum, is because there is no empathy. Lack of empathy. If we give thousands of reasons why exclusion is still in existence, all of them, they all come together to show that people are not showing empathy. Nobody is interested in you sympathizing for his condition. You are not interested in that. Individuals on the autism spectrum too, they are not interested in you sympathizing for them. Oh, sorry, you have this, sorry, you have that. No. But when you tend to be empathetic, oh, you know what? This is the condition you are going through, but this is how I could help. That is when you are trying to talk of how you can manage it for them. The second thing I want to address is the aspect of rigid structure. Exclusion is still in place globally because of rigid structure. Nobody wants to shape the system. Nobody wants to adjust the system. Everybody wants the system to suit their personal composition. We have forgotten that we have variations in human brains. All of us are not the same. If you, despite the fact that we are neurotypical, no single neurotypical is the same. Everybody has different traits. What's of the neurodivergent? So the system should be ready to move out of their comfort zone. They should not have a rigid system in the educational system. Oh, this is the traditional way of teaching. You have to fit into this. If you're not fitting into this, we kick you out. It should not be. No. But rather, try to come in, try to understand the child. And that's the aspect of you trying to create an individualized educational plan. Oh, what does this child like? How can I come into this child to make him a better person? What are the things I need to adjust? It's not as if you are just meant to follow the curriculum the way it is and said, no, this curriculum has been in existence before you even came to this world. So who are you to tell me to moderate? No. So what I'm talking about is let's adjust the rigid system. And it's not only in the educational system, in governance, also in different offices. Oh, this is the way we do things. And this is a note to all the directors and everybody that is in higher power. Please, let's change our policies to fit in individual on the autism spectrum and other neurodiverse condition. ADHD, Down syndrome, dyslexia, dyscalculia. Let's adjust our policy to fit so that they can come in, so that the belongingness we are talking about can be a reality, so that the dignity we are talking about, they can feel it. And another thing I would like to address before I stop is the aspect of awareness. Some are not even aware. They'll be like, oh, I think I've heard that condition. I've heard about autism before. Today is World Autism Awareness Day. It's another chance for you to know that there is a condition called what? Autism. So once we get to tell, we tend to talk about this thing. People get to be informed and people tend to ask questions. Okay, what can I do better? And we thank God for ION, Institute of Neurodiversity and United Nations, for bringing this program on board so that people can get informed about the condition autism, autistic people, individuals on the autism spectrum, and how we can deal with them, how we can relate with them, how we can make them to thrive. And the last one is when people focus on deficit. They are just so much interested on he can't do this, he can't do that. Oh, why can't you look at what he can do? Look at the practical example that was given to us by Hector earlier, the aspect of music. Typically, everybody hears music. If you don't like music, you would have heard a music somewhere. Yeah. So we can decide to create for example, big organizations can decide to collaborate with individuals on the autism spectrum that they have talents. Instead of saying, oh, he can't have a complex thinking, he doesn't have a proper planning, organizational skills. No, what he can do. Let's build on their strengths, not on their weaknesses. Let's enhance their ability, not their disability. Thank you.
Well done. Absolutely, some really powerful pieces here. I loved your first one with empathy. Empathy, I have often said, well, sometime back in the day, there was someone doing research to say autistic people have not got empathy. And I was like, well, if what I see non-autistic people do is empathy, then I'd rather not have it. Because we are being excluded and not understood, and people are not trying enough. But this is helping, so thank you so much for that. The deficit situation, if you think about it, all the charities that are around raising money to help us can only raise money if we have problems. And I think that's why they focus on the deficit more than the strengths, which is not helping the community in a way. So if we could shift some of that drive from the funders to we will only give money if it's because of specific struggles, as opposed to we will support the whole community to be empowered. That would be a good move. So thank you so much for that. Right, we are moving over to subject number 3, opportunities for next generation. What about the practical changes that could most transform opportunities for you and the generation after you? So the question is, what changes would you make the biggest difference to your generation's future? And now, will you stay on screen? We will start with you.
Okay. Thank you. The first thing I'm going to do is let's eradicate ignorance. Oh, I don't know, I don't know. How on earth are we continuing to live on I don't know? I'm not informed. If you even see someone who has done something bad to individual on the autism spectrum, they say it's because I don't know. No, like they do say, no ignorance in the court of what? In the court of law. So therefore, I'm also bringing this quote. There is no ignorance in the world of neurodiversity. Let's take it that way. If it is the quote for the day. No, we should not stay on, oh, I don't know. Let's be informed. Awareness. The second thing is aspect of creating a sensory-friendly environment. When a sensory-friendly environment is created, we tend to now know quite well that, oh, in airports, let's decide to have, for example, if there is hypersensitivity of sound and the child is having a meltdown, do we have noise cancellation headphone that can regulate the child emotion? Oh, calm down. Do we have stimulated lights that can make the nervous system to be cool and calm? All these things boils down to creating a structure, a good structure that can create sustainability for individual on the autism spectrum. The last thing I would still like to talk about is let's tend to incorporate the use of individualized educational plan in the educational space. And I think this is applicable to schools. Some teachers just generally, for example, let's assume a class of 30, and you know quite well that every child cannot be the same. Like I established earlier, even all neurotypicals, they are not the same. We learn differently. We comprehend differently. Now, come to think of neurodivergent individual, meaning people on the autism spectrum. Individual with dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysorthography, Down syndrome. They should have an individual educational plan. Look at what works for them. Let them dictate their learning. And with this, if we can incorporate this, I'm very, very sure quite well that we'll be proud of the system that is working for individuals on the autism spectrum.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, there is a system that was done about 100 years ago called Montessori, and that is where the children go towards what they find interesting and learn through that. So we know it can happen. It's just we need everybody to do it more. So thank you so much for this. All classrooms are neurodiverse, right? All classroom has a mix of all of us. So to think that we have one person sitting in there is just crazy stuff. Vincent, your thoughts on this?
So I think that when we're looking at opportunities for the next generation, we've already mentioned a few, right? Opportunities within leadership, opportunities to engage. I think it starts from a place of understanding. We're not going to get anywhere in terms of making or creating opportunities for the next generation without some level of understanding, both of ourselves as autistic individuals, right? We can have all the Montessoris in the world that we want, but if you do not understand yourself or how you function, you can neither engage with a Montessori curriculum nor a normal standard curriculum. Now, I believe that having situations that continuously segregate us out of environments is not always the best way to do things, right? And again, we at times, as a defense mechanism or as a supportive mechanism, we will self-exclude. That does not create opportunities to transform the way in which we as autistic and neurodiverse people show up in society. We must remember that as much as we have a diversity of abilities and diversity of places and spaces, the ways in which we present ourselves, we live within societies which have standards, rules, norms. What we need to do to ensure that we create opportunities for ourselves is develop ways and engage with these standards, rules, norms within a framework that that speaks to and allows us, right? That allows us to function, that speaks to, allows us, and provides opportunities for our voices to be heard.
Yeah.
That includes listening, right? One of the biggest opportunities for a next generation to create is listening, empathy, listening, hearing us out. Where there are opportunities for leadership, we step up. Creating spaces where we, as autistic and neurodiverse individuals, feel pride enough to know that in spite of my being differently abled, I have something to bring to the table.
Yeah.
I do not have nothing to bring to this table. I'm not coming empty-handed. While you might see me as different, while you might see me as something else, I can step up. And organizations such as the Institute for Neurodiversity are really critical in this respect, right? Because here we can equip neurodiverse individuals to see ourselves as a bit more than the challenges we face, right? We can help neurodiverse young people to feel confidence in themselves. And with that confidence, and with those systems and structures and those provisions that we support and enable, we can now go and say, okay, Vincent is a 12-year-old boy at a school, and these are his issues. Okay, how do we work with Vincent to navigate these issues, right? And also inform the people around Vincent that these are the challenges that he has. And as such, he needs 1, 2, 3. And as we provide 1, 2, 3 for him, watch him soar, right? These are the opportunities for the next generation that I see, right? I'm autistic. I am, on the balance of probabilities, going to have autistic children, right? Genetics is just like that. So when I look at these things, I'm looking and thinking of the ways in which the world will exist, and my future children will one day engage with the world. And I cannot try or look at things in a manner that will remove them from the world, because it doesn't matter how much I shield them or shelter them and take them away into spaces. When they are away from me, when I am gone, when they are traveling, they will face challenges. So issues such as look, we live in societies where not everywhere has the same level of resources to address certain things. How do we navigate an autistic person flying, right? We have the autism I
Lanyard.
can't find the word. Lanyard, right? We have that. In some airports, it is known. What do we do when the person's on the plane? Opportunities come in the form of us working and developing ways in which we help ourselves manage some of the challenges we'll face.
Yeah.
So if Hector has said that music is something that's helped him, then we use some of those things and have Hector have a little class to say, okay, let's try this, go and, there are many ways to skin this cat, if you will. And these are the opportunities I see to enable and create opportunities for the next generation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And over to Hector to comment on that with opportunities and changes.
Well, in opportunities, I'm gonna make a joke here. I wish Slipknot contracted me to be their new drummer.
Yay!
I wish, but well, there's some things that, well, not every time's gonna be a dream coming true. So, well, about them opportunities. Well, I always wanted to know new places, meet new people. It's personally is very hard to me because I'm a shy person. I don't talk too much. I don't like to go outside home. Like a friend of mine, example, calls me on a Saturday night, hey, buddy, let's go to the movie theater. And I said, well, just you and me? Nothing more else? Yeah, no one else, just you and me, no problem. It's I don't know if someone can relate to. I'm trying to work this on getting out of home. I'm visiting some place. I'm going to somewhere. There's a lot of people wandering, like a shopping center, a mall, market. There's a lot of people moving. Um, well, it's a very difficult thing for me to do. I don't have panic of going to any place with a lot of people. I went to a Linkin Park show into the Morumbi. That is a soccer stadium, and it was filled with people. If I had panic, I would be terrified, or I think I would even faint. But I don't have this. It's something that I deal with it very well. On knowing about trying to make new friends, it's something that I uh, have my insecurities. Like I said, I'm a shy person. Introducing myself to someone that I'm about to get to know better, it's really difficult for me. How can I use this word? I have trust issues. You can joke if you want. I have personally, how can I say, it's like, um, um, catchphrase of mine. Trust is something that you can easily lose, but you can hardly gain.
Yes.
I like I said, I had few friends that I trust, still trust them today, but it's confidence is something that you can easily lose if someone makes a mistake or expose your secrets or do something behind you, by your back. That is, in my opinion, way worse than the previous ones I said. But it's just some examples of experience that I had in my life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Trust is huge. If I lose trust, it's like I can't get back to it again. If people lie to me, I really struggle getting over it, and some people unfortunately do, and I just can't. So I get you completely. For a shy person, you're doing really well here, Hector. I have to say that. So, and you're coming across super well. So, thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing from your experiences. Of course, that's what we can really learn from as well, is when we share our experiences with the world. So that's fantastic. Thank you. And Martin, finally to you.
Well, if we want real change for the next generation, we need more than awareness. We need action. First of all, we need early support that empowers autistic children. Support should not focus on making autistic people appear normal. It should focus on helping them understand the changes and build confidence. Second, we need we need inclusive education systems. Classrooms should be designed from the beginning to support different learning styles, flexible teaching, flexible assessments, sensory friendly environments. And finally, we need real target we need real employment opportunities, not token hiring, not symbolic diversity campaigns, but we need real careers, real leadership opportunities.
Yes.
Autistic people should be entrepreneurs, scientists, educators, and innovators, and policymakers. Opportunity should not depend on how well someone masks. It should depend on their potential.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Spot on. I completely agree with that. There are some sort of autistic hiring programs in different places, and I tend to say to them, so okay, so what are you doing with autistic people you already have in your workforce? And I never get an answer because they're like, oh, we don't think, but we are there, right? They might not know we're there, but we're there, especially old folks like me. They just don't know that we are there, but we are. And the more we speak up, the more people will become clear of that. Thank you so much, all of you. We're going to point number 4, imagining the future. What would we think a world that truly embraces human diversity might look like? So, a specific question, how do you envision a world that truly embraces human diversity by 2030 and beyond? And we're starting with Vincent.
Well, that truly embraces human diversity.
It's a big one.
Let me give you a story that I heard. A teacher had a class of first graders. And so he said to a first grader, okay, your fingers hurt. Can I give you a bandage? Gave him the bandage for the injury. Went to another one, said, okay, here's a bandage, here's a bandage, here's a bandage, here's a bandage. He's bandaged all of them. Only one was injured. Ask the others, are you feeling better? Yes. And he said to them, the same way I've done this for all of you, when someone is hurt, is the same way, and you are not hurt, is the same way I need to take care of someone when they're having some issues. So when another student down the line, so he says, the same way one person's hurt, different people have different needs. So when a student will complain about someone getting extra time or something small, an accommodation, he reminded them of that exercise, right? Now, why did I start off with that story? It's because that is what a world that embraces the diversity of people, human diversity, neurodiversity, in fact, looks like. Within the classroom, within the workplace, you are inherently facing a diverse environment of human experience. And in that, there needs to be an understanding, a hearing out, if you will. A world that embraces this diversity is one where I am not scandalized for not being able to know how to tie my shoes, even though I'm much older than someone should be that doesn't know how to tie their shoes, right? Properly. A world that embraces it, right? It shouldn't be scandalized, but sure, make comments, but it shouldn't be the entire thing of, oh, right? A world that embraces human diversity is a world where we understand that someone might not be able to have certain textures as clothing. And if someone tries on something, they are reacting immediately. It's not, oh, you're weird. It's, oh, okay. Maybe there's a reason. A world that embraces human diversity is a world in which we start to listen, right? We start to listen, we start to have empathy. A world in which we're moving away from a diversity hire for the sake of ticking the boxes and ticking the excuses and saying, okay, well, to get our ESG score up, we will hire 3 autistic people, yay Hamlet. A world that embraces diversity of human experiences and neurodiversity is a world where an autistic person is not set and sentenced to being exclusively the backpacker. It's a world where you might start as a backpacker, but you gain skills and you're educated and you're trained. right? A world where, if you will, our potential is unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
A world where the availability of opportunity is not limited by the challenges you face with the manifestation of your neurodiverse condition. It's a world where we give an opportunity to build the system and incorporate within the system, right? It's a world where we are not completely outside of the system and we do not see ourselves outside the system. It's a world where we come together. It's a world where we, as autistic and neurodiverse people, use our experiences, similar to what Hector has been doing, and I'm so grateful for that, to inform and educate the next generation, others around us about. Because autism is not a single thing. It has multiple manifestations around multiple areas. And there might be something in Hector's sharing of his experience that I'm sitting here being like, oh, snap, I can relate. Maybe I can twist it in that way that he's doing. And I'll circle back and see how it works, right? It's a world where we engage on the challenges we face and how we navigate. It's a world where we do not think that autism is the good doctor, is Sheldon Cooper. That drives me insane. It's a world where we have adequate and effective representation in media, right? I think one of the greatest or most decent cinematic portrayals of autism that I've seen in a while was the Blue Ranger from the Power Rangers movie, right? I think it was a decent portrayal of it, right? Another one had its issues, was Atypical. The main character, Atypical.
Yeah.
Now, as we move towards a world where we see and we show this diversity of human experiences in popular media, we are opening doors for acceptance, empathy, and understanding. And that is the world that I would like to see in 2030.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Let's hear from Ayanwole what you have to say about 2030 outlook.
Okay. A world I envision in 2030 as regarding human diversity is a world where inclusion, acceptance have become the order of the day. Where inclusion, acceptance have become the order of the day. Everybody is being included. Everybody is being accepted. Also, I envision a world where we listen, but we don't judge. Oh, why is this like this? Oh, it's because of this. Okay, this is how we can manage it together. Come in. I also envision a world where equity is valued beyond equality. We are not saying everybody should be equal, but what our message is, let's bring in equity. Because equality and equity, they are not the same. We can't decide to be saying, oh, let everybody be equal. So I know quite well that a person is not too top, and I decide to give everybody a single stool, a small size stool. And I say, okay, you by nature, you are very tall. You by nature, you are very short. But I'm going to practice equality. I'm going to give both of you the same stool. Are we actually talking of equality in that manner? No. We should rather emphasize on equity. Okay, you are tall, and I want you to see that. Okay, get this small stool. Oh, you are short, and I want you to see that thing. Get this big stool, tall stool. With that, we are talking of 2030. We are talking of acceptance. We are talking of inclusion. We are talking of equity over equality. And lastly, I also envision a world where we have a friendly sensory environment. Talking about the parking space is very, very accommodating for individuals on the autism spectrum and everyone. We are talking of policies that are working in organizations that individuals on the autism spectrum, autistic individuals, they are leading. They are championing the race. We are very proud to say quite well that, oh, we are very happy that this person is now leading. Also, the last one I'm going to mention, I envision a world whereby we are no more talking of awareness, but we are talking of how can we get more people to help these people.
Yeah.
Awareness has gone. It's not that, oh, are you informed? Now all of us are informed. We are now right into action. And I hope quite well that we are going to arrive to this and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we definitely need to move on from awareness. Some places of the world, we are still working on awareness, but mostly the information is there for sure. Yeah. Now, Hector, for you, what do you think a world by 2030 where you would feel fully included, what would that look like for you?
Well, how can I say? We're 5 years prior, so well, it's gonna take 5 years to get to there, but I think we kind of get more how can I say adapted to in any way. I mean, the job, personal life, relationships with friends, or any relationship. I think I try to be as optimistic as I can, obviously, but I think we can have a bright future in these next 5 years that are about to come. And maybe because I'm a little anxious, I think the time passed slower than for every person. But they say 5 years flies. And I think we might have a optimistic and bright future, talking about inclusion and everything. Well, I'm optimistic because I had, of course, excellent experience in my job, excellent experience in my life, and I still hoping that by 2013 they get even better and better.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think it gets a little bit better every year, but as you were speaking, I was thinking maybe this panel we should meet up in 5 years' time and look back at what we said today and then see where we are in 5 years. I think I'm going to put that in my diary and I will call upon you in 5 years, and the five of us will come together and we'll make that as a standalone event that we'll put out there. What do you think? Are you all up for that? I think that could be great. Thank you so much, Hector. I really appreciate your input here. And finally, Martin.
Well, I imagine a world where neurodiversity is understood as a natural part of human diversity. A world where autistic children grow up seeing autistic adults in leadership, where schools teach neurodiversity as part of understanding humanity itself, where workplaces measure success not only by productivity but also by inclusion, where policies are designed with neurodivergent communities, not just for them. A world that truly embraces neurodiversity does not simply tolerate difference. It resigns systems to reflect it. Because human diversity is not a problem to solve. It is a trend. It is a trend to cultivate.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that input. We have some great input here. We need to make all these points, put them down, and then make sure things are happening. We're now coming to the final piece, which I have also really looked forward to, which is your message to the global leaders. I would really like us to just put a line out, a key message about what you all want policymakers, institutions, and leaders to note from you. So the question is, what key message do you want global leaders to hear and act on now? Make it one line or as short as you can so that that message sits on its own. And if we can start with you, Martin, please.
Oh, I had a large message,
Read us a large message then, that's okay too.
My message to global leaders is simple and urgent. Nothing about us without us. If policies affect autistic people must be a part of creating those policies. This means investing in neurodivergent youth leadership. It means funding inclusive education. It means creating real accountability for employment inclusion. Inclusion cannot remain symbolic. It must become structural. At Autismo 365, we say something that applies to everyone here today. Inclusion begins with you. Every decision maker, every educator, every employer, every institution, because the future of humanity will not be defined by any type of mind. The future is neurodiverse, and autistic people deserve dignity, opportunity, and belonging 365 days a year. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I love your passion. Thank you very much, Martin. And Ayanwole.
Thank you. The first one is awareness without action is just making noise. We want our leaders, global leaders, to create actions. Actions in what? In policies. What kind of policy? I will take Africa as an example, and most particularly Nigeria. Now, people getting access to diagnosis of being diagnosed with autism, assessment, evaluation is costly. And those people that have the ability to know that they have this condition early in life, they are the rich people. Many quite swear that people from low class, they can afford assessment. They don't even know until some of them even grow older. So what am I saying in essence? Let there be basic amenities for individuals on the autism spectrum to make their lives more easier. Like creating centers, federal autism centers. I don't know how it applies in the whole world, but I'm talking specifically for Africa and Nigeria. Most of the things we have is private centers. And if you look at what is happening over there, most of it is nothing to write home about, because some of them are just merchandise of the condition. They are deciding to make money out of the condition, whereas you don't know the pain that individuals on the autism spectrum are going through. So the first key message, please help with public centers. And also, if this thing can also be the global community should help. There should be a global support to different corners. The second thing which I would like to suggest, or I would like the global leaders to do for us, is let's make it everyday action. It should not be tied down to April 2nd. Every 2nd of April, we celebrate what is the day. That's when you have to listen to us. No. Let the listening here be every day. Oh, I think I want to make this policy. As you are thinking of your day-to-day activities, think of what you can do to make life easier for individuals on the autism spectrum. Through the use of, you can decide to create a creativity center that would make individuals on the autism spectrum to come in order to show their full strength. One of it is art gallery, creation of art gallery. Let's do this for them. And I hope quite well that we will be very, very proud. Individuals on the autism spectrum will be proud to have this, and they will always thank you for creating a life for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All the passion is coming out. I'm loving it. Hector, where are you on the message you would like global leaders to hear from you?
Well, from start, just to give opportunities, to give some time, comprehension, and probably the most important, the comprehension part, and try to adapt some things to not to make it difficult, bureaucratic, and just to make things more easier, simple, and most important, direct to help autistic people, not only on the job, not only on their personal lives, but in everything. That's all I gotta say.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Spot on. Thank you very much, Hector. And finally, Vincent.
What do I have to say to global leaders? So Martin said nothing about us without us. And I want to build on that. We are part of the constituents that you answer to. Listen to us when we speak. Come to us. Engage with us. Engage with institutions to which we belong and we're represented. And hear how some of the things you want to do will impact us. Nothing about us without us is not simply about making noise about how you're doing inclusion, or how one day a year we will remember autism, or how for a few days, a few hours, maybe a week, we'll say, yeah, autism, yeah, autistic kids, fantastic. Nothing about us without us goes to the element of how. Who do you engage with? Have you realized those amongst your staff who are themselves autistic or on the spectrum or with different neurodiverse conditions and situations? Nothing about us without us also speaks to the United Nations, right? It speaks to how do we incorporate within the framework that UNICEF operates ideas and conceptions around working on early childhood education that creates room or avenue for autistic care, especially within communities that have challenges, right, with financing and funding education. How to incorporate this to allow autistic kids have a chance at life.
Yeah.
I am an example of someone who got lucky. My diagnosis was spotted when I was a kid. My mom took the effort to learn about some of the areas around it and help me develop. Sure, it showed up at different points in my life, but I'm here because of those early on foundational building blocks, as well as her understanding that I was differently abled. Many people who look like me do not have access to this. Many people who look like me will face a lot of discrimination and challenges as a consequence of being on the spectrum. Nothing about us without us means remembering those of us who eventually get to positions of power or get to positions where we can advocate must remember that we're answerable to the next generation, not just of the people who come from us or are around us, to the next generation who face challenges similar to what we face.
Yeah.
Or have faced. Nothing about us without us.
Thank you so much. Amazing, amazing input from all of you. Thank you so much for being here today, for spending your free time on putting your voice out there to the world. You've been sharing not only your experiences, but also your vision for what comes next. So what we've heard today is a reminder that neurodiversity is not simply a topic of awareness or accommodation. It's about recognizing the full range of human minds as we see them here and beyond, and designing systems that allow those minds to contribute, to create, and to lead, not the least. The future will not become any more inclusive by accident. It will only happen because people choose to change how we educate, how we work, and how we understand one another. And as today's conversation has shown, the next generation is leading the change already. Thank you again, all of you, for being part of this discussion. It's been amazing, for sharing your thoughts on these important subjects. I will be forever grateful for this, and I look forward to seeing you in 5 years' time. Thank you. As we close today, we are not ending a conversation. We are drawing a line between what has been and what must come next. Today, we've heard voices from across the world, voices of experience, of truth, voices that has too often been ignored and are no longer willing to be. And this message is clear. The future cannot be built by excluding difference. So let us be clear about what we are saying today. Autism is not separate from humanity. It's part of humanity. Neurominorities are not problems to be solved. They are people to be understood, respected, and included, because every life has value. This is not just a moral position, it's a human rights position. It's aligned with the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals, a world where no one is left behind, where dignity is not negotiable, a world where inclusion is real. So today, we at the Institute of Neurodiversity make a clear commitment. We commit to advancing dignity and well-being, where identity is affirmed, not corrected. Inclusive education and meaningful work, where autistic people can thrive, not just cope. Equal rights and accessible communities, where systems are designed for all minds, and global partnerships where autistic voices are not consulted as an afterthought, but embedded from the start. Would you commit to? And we take also a clear position that we reject narratives of cure, conversion, or elimination. And let me say something that may feel uncomfortable, but it's true. Inclusion that stops at awareness and blocks access to power is not inclusion, it's an illusion. So this is a challenge we leave with you. You're not to agree, but to act, to question the systems you're part of, to change what you can, and to recognize that this is not someone else's responsibility. It is all of ours responsibility. Because the future is not something we wait for. It's something we build. And the future we are building together is clear. The future is neurodiverse. And it starts now.